Johnny Livanos is the founder of Stray Dog Wild Gin, a brand changing everything you think you know about gin, along with the special cause behind it. Hi,
Hello,
thank you so much for joining us.
I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. So, we have had the joy of chatting with so many Greek American entrepreneurs throughout the years. For those just getting to know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Where do we begin? I am calling in here live from New York. I grew up in Westchester, New York, Greek and Italian background. So my father is Greek with heritage from the island of Lesbos, and my mother is Sicilian. So I feel like I'm just like fully Mediterranean island blood. And then my wife actually is from Spain, so I'm just like got all Mediterranean going on. But I grew up in the restaurant business. So my family owns several restaurants in New York, including Molivos, which is one of the most well-renowned Greek restaurants in New York, with the largest Greek wine list, most likely in the world. So I had a background growing up in hospitality and in spirits, and especially with a focus in Greek beverages. And after going to college, I studied hospitality. Um, Worked for many different restaurant groups. And then 5 years ago, I had a crazy idea to make a gin and make it in Greece and find a way to try and uh, marry the history and culture and flavors of Greece and the Mediterranean, but present it in a new and exciting way. And gin seemed like the perfect way to do it. And that's a little bit of a background on me.
Well, that's awesome. So, you launched Stray Dog Wild Gin back in 2020. What
Yes.
inspired you to start your own company?
I've always felt like I had an entrepreneurial spirit inside of me, especially growing up in a family business and growing up in the restaurant business. The restaurant business is tough and challenging, and I love the idea of creating a product, something that you can share with people all over the world without having to be all over the world. In a restaurant, you can share your passion, but you have to do that in the place, right? You have to physically be there to do it. And I love the idea of creating a brand to be able to just, travel without traveling. And I love and I'm so proud of my Greek heritage. And I've always been a curious person. I've always liked to try new things and do new things. So actually, I was on a wine trip in Greece in 2017. We were traveling all around Greece, tasting wine. And this was right when we opened up the restaurant Usia in Manhattan, actually like a month after we opened. And we were traveling through the island of Crete, and I was drinking a glass of raki. And for those of you who don't know what raki is, it is a great, basically Greek moonshine, but it's a pumice brandy. And I had a sip of, I had a little glass of tiporo, and I'm walking around. That we're hiking through this little hillside, and I'm picking some wild herbs around me, and I'm putting them in my glass to infuse, just out of curiosity, see what happens. So I had a little bit of wild sage growing, foscomilo, and I put it in the glass. And there was a little bit of rosemary, I put it in the glass. Some wildflowers, I put it in the glass. About an hour later, I went to take a sip and it tasted amazing. All those herbal flavors were completely infused into the glass, and I decided. Well, I had that light bulb moment. I was like, wait a second. Like, I kind of just made gin here. I didn't have juniper berries, which is the most important ingredient for gin, but I had gin is basically a medley of herbs to infuse into a spirit. And I was wondering, why is no one making gin in Greece? We have such a beautiful bounty of flavors, of herbs and botanicals, a rich culture and history in distilling and in spirits like tsipuro, mastica, ouzo, of course, everyone knows. But why is no one making gin in Greece? So that set us out on a quest. My wife has been working with spirits for her whole career, and she kind of pushed me to do it, inspired me. He's like, "Well, we can do it. Let's do it." And that's what led me to just give it a shot. And yeah, here we are, 5 years later, from idea to inception. We launched in 2020, and now entering the beginning of 2023, we are hitting our goals, and we're doing about 2,000 cases a year, and hopefully this year we'll hit 3,000 cases a year. We're currently selling in about 20 to 25 states in the United States. We're in Greece, hopefully launching in Canada this year. Australia just placed their first order. So Greeks all over the world are getting a taste of the wonderful new flavors of Greece and a gin.
That's great, and we can't wait for it to come to Canada as
Yeah.
well. I know that there's a philanthropic side behind your brand. Why was it important for you to support stray dogs in Greece, and who are you working with to make it happen?
Yeah, so I've always wanted to give back, and when we were thinking of how to make this product come to life, we were thinking about different names, different ideas. We're brainstorming a whole bunch of different things, and you want to be able to tell a story with a brand. And when we thought of the name. We wanted so we're using wild herbs in our gin. That's one of the main ingredients. We're using wild forage, sage, rosemary. So the wildness of the gin was important. And on that same hike, that same trip, there was a dog with us. There was a little wild stray dog of the village that was following us, and we named her Roxy. It was just like literally a little dog protecting us on this hike. So when we were thinking about what to do, how to name it, I remembered the dog, and I felt like it was a perfect tie-in because the wild ingredients, the wild dogs, okay, we'll call it stray dog. Stray dog represents, I feel like, this Greek spirit of being independent, being your own person, kind of having no leader, having no master, being your own leader. Um, and then it just made sense to tie it all in. We're passionate about dogs, so why not give back? There are a lot of stray animals in Greece, not just dogs, but cats too. So we found a partner shelter called Save the Greek Stray. They're based right outside of Athens, and we give a portion of sales to support stray animals in Greece. So we work with them. They provide veterinary care, shelter, of course. They do adoption drives. They're a no-kill shelter, so most of the efforts and money you give them is for housing the animals and for just awareness of trying to get them adopted. We also work with shelters in the United States like Paws, Chicago. And as we grow, we want to work with local shelters in different parts of the world. So we're in Puerto Rico, for example. And once we launched there, we did a special event with a local store that also works with a local shelter. And that's what's been really fun. Our customers are very excited about and passionate about dogs as well. So it gives us an ability to kind of find ways to work with people and work with the community, not just in Greece, but outside of Greece, um, through Stray Dog. So it's been very fun to make it all come to life.
So, Johnny, Greek gin brands, at least in my opinion, seem to be making waves in the last few years.
Mhm.
What do you think separates Greek gin from other gins out there?
So that's a great question. So right now in the gin world, there is multiple different categories. You have London Dry, you have Old Tom Gin, and this category of gin that's kind of growing the most is what they call craft gin, or new age gin. And what makes gin special is um, there's very few rules you have to follow, right? You just need to have juniper and you need to use a clear neutral spirit to make it. That's in a nutshell. That allows distillers and brands to really be creative and use ingredients that they are passionate about. So what sets apart Greek gin, especially Stray Dog, is we're using these amazing herbs that are unique to Greece that don't grow anywhere else in the world, like mastika, for example. Mastika is a botanical. It's an ingredient, spice, whatever you want to call it, that is unique. It's not even Greece, but just Chios. One island in Greece is the only place in the world that could make mastika. And like, it is such a unique taste, and it's something we should be proud of to have this awesome flavor and ingredient that is only found in one small island in Greece. So that's one unique factor, right? No one else is using mastika outside of Greece. Wild mountain sage, that's a herb that I've always been very passionate about, foscomilo. My grandparents, after dinner every night, would make a pot of foscomilo tea. And that's why I wanted to make sage one of the main botanicals. And we're using the same wild mountain sage you'd find in Greece. There's so many beautiful herbs, like they just grow wild. So why not use all those flavors and ingredients? We use a little bit of fennel seed as well, which is the main flavoring agent in ouzo or anise, which gives this nice brightness to it. Bay leaf as well, like all these flavors you might know in Greek cooking. You might
Yeah.
be making it in your avgolemino soup, but you haven't necessarily made it into a spirit. And they work well in a gin, right? Like, so gin can be made with all these types of different things, even citrus. I forgot to mention the citrus we use. We use Mediterranean Greek orange and lemon. How much, how good are Greek lemons and Greek oranges, right?
So
Those
very good.
they're so good. So like we need to use, and we're using these ingredients that as Greek Americans, Greek Canadians, just Greeks in the diaspora and Greeks in Greece, we all know that we have some of the best ingredients in the world. Like I just saw a list, um, the top cuisines in the world, and Greece was like number two, I think. So like that's because we have the best ingredients. How simple is Greek food? It's not necessarily rocket science. We just got the best ingredients. So making that into a spirit is just kind of a no-brainer, and I think that's what sets apart Greek gin from gins of all over the world. And a lot of other gins use ingredients from everywhere else, right? So it's cool for us to be using ingredients that are all found within our country of Greece.
Yeah, and that's really cool as well. But what excites you too about the spirits industry in Greece and where it's sort of heading?
So much. I mean, Greece is right now in the renaissance since the economic crisis and 2010, 2012, whatever it was. Like there's been definitely a boom in hospitality, in the beverage industry in Greece, with wine, with spirits, with beer. So many young people in Greece that grew up in hospitality, they maybe left Greece during that hard time and they came back. And with that, they brought a newfound knowledge, newfound experience. Maybe they studied winemaking in California or in France, and now they're in Greece, taking that knowledge and education, but applying it to the Greek grape varietals and making amazing Greek wine. They maybe worked in top bars in London, and now they're opening up bars in Athens. And now you see Athens has, I think, three out of the top 50 best bars in the world are in Athens. One of them in the top five for like 5 years in a row, the Clumsies. Um, so there's just a lot of creativity. And I think what makes Greek hospitality and beverage stand out is that they have this natural hospitality and this natural, drive to give back and make people enjoy themselves and make a delicious experience. And I don't know when last time you were in Athens, but the bars in Athens, especially like the Psidi area near Monastiraki, there's so many fun, exciting cocktail bars that are incorporating ingredients from all over the world, but then using fruits or herbs or spices from their local cuisine to enhance it, make it awesome, make these delicious flavors. So you're seeing a lot of creativity coming out of Greece right now, especially in the beverage scene.
And it leads me to my next question, which is what is your advice to entrepreneurs who want to tap into the Greek market and them seeing Greece as a place of possibility?
Mhm. I'd say ask questions, find people who are already doing it, and ask for advice. Um, I will say being in North America and working in Greece has challenges as well. It's not as easy as you might think to just set up shop in Greece and export it all over the world. There's a lot of red tape and bureaucracy you have to deal with. So, there might be other easier ways to make it happen, right? You can maybe work in Canada or the United States and find ways to share your culture other ways. But I'd say just ask questions, be curious. So many people helped me along the way just by me sharing my idea, being open and honest. I feel like a lot of people get protective of an idea they have. They don't want someone to steal their idea. Um, but pretty much all good ideas have already been thought of. It's about how do you make it happen.
Yeah.
So don't be scared to share your ideas because just because you talk to someone doesn't mean they're going to actually do it. You have to have. It's way harder than you might think to start a business. So talk to people, get conversations. You might think of something that you didn't think of before, and it's pretty amazing how people are just so willing to help other entrepreneurs. So when you're in that kind of circle and you're asking questions, people are very eager to connect you with people who they might know. So I'd say just ask questions, talk, be open, have your ideas thought out first before you go on to the next step. And yeah, stay curious. That's kind of how I feel. Like I work with so many now. Living in New York, I'm surrounded by a lot of Greek entrepreneurs that are starting their own businesses, whether it's importing Greek olive oil or working with Greek fashion designers and selling Greek art jewelry. Um, it's all about baby steps, but it's been fun to see people kind of take it to that next level and keep connecting. And I feel like the social aspect is one of the most important things.
Yeah.
Uh, Talking to people, networking, socializing um, is huge because you can't just start a business and expect people to find you. Like, especially in this day and age, the internet connects people more than ever, but it also makes the world bigger. So you have to now stand out in a giant sea of endless content.
Yeah.
So you need to just focus on who you're connected with now, and grow it little by little. So yeah, just baby steps.
Well, Johnny, like we said before, we can't wait for Stray Dog Gin to come to Canada. Thank you so much for taking out the time to chat with us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And to keep up with Johnny, you can head over to straydoggin.com to learn more.